then they'll just sit there and nag and haunt and drive me insane. Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 3 of the Desert Borealis Knitting Podcast. My name is Tasha, and I'm the wife, mother, dyer, designer, knitter behind all things Desert Borealis. This is my YouTube knitting podcast where I actually share a lot of my creations, okay? You can find me here on YouTube, where you've already found me, and also on Ravelry. I do have an Instagram handle at Desert Borealis, but I don't know. I'm not really an Instagram type person. Every once in a while I'll put something on there, but I'm most active here on YouTube. Welcome to all of my new subscribers. Thank you for being here. I can't believe that in just 1 week, the channel has grown 57%. So thank you for subscribing. And if you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my upcoming podcasts, tutorials, or any other videos. Today is Saturday, July 12th, and it's roughly 11:40 in the morning. Okay, so I have no finished objects, but I have made some progress on all 4 whips that I showed you last week, and I actually made some progress on a 5th whip that I forgot to mention last week. So let's just get right into it with whip number 1, which is in a bag that I made myself. And these are my January Hedgehog fiber socks. So last week, there's my little side duck right there. Last week I had just started the heel flap, and I have finished the heel flap turn, and I have done 1 row on the gusset. So that was more than I planned to do, because I actually was thinking that I would just set this aside for the week and really focus on my other 3 knitting projects, but I did find some time to work on this. This yarn is by Hedgehog Fibers in the colorway Festival Fever? Yeah, Festival Fever. This is a mini that I dyed up last summer. We're doing size 2.75 millimeter needles, and this is a 72 stitch count leg. I get about 9 to 10 stitches per inch. These are a pair of socks for my daughter that I will put away for her for Christmas because she likes a longer leg and I don't. That is all the progress that I made here, and actually, while I'm thinking about it, I've got new light bulb stitch markers that I'm going to be adding to each of my projects today so that I can track the progress. I'm going to keep Psyduck where he is because I want to see the progress that I make each week. So this week's progress is going to be marked by red light bulb stitch markers. Let's move on to whip number 2, which is my neon fade sweater. The neon fade sweater is a sweater that I'm designing myself, and I'm using it to use up all of the minis for the Lily's Favorite Amp colorway that I dyed up for myself last year. Okay. My goal for this sweater was to have the sleeves joined into the body. That was it. That was the basic goal. Didn't want to set my standards too high and completely fail. But let me tell you, I did it. I joined the sleeves to the body, and this is a raglan decrease sweater, and I actually made a bit of progress. So this is the progress keeper from last week, and I was able to do about 3.5 inches. So super stoked about that, because I'm not so stoked that I didn't have the right cord length of needles, and so I'm having to do magic loop, and it's doable, it's fine, it's just not my favorite when it comes to sweaters. But in all honesty, like really, I am not a sweater knitter. I'd like to pretend I am. Right now, I'm pretty much just pretending that I'm a knitter in general, because all of these have their own little quirks, and their quirks are kind of grating on my nerves. But if I don't get them off of the needles, then they'll just sit there and nag and haunt and drive me insane. So even though there's other quirks, like using magic loop for all the raglan decreases, at least I know progress is being made. I could have ordered new needles, but by the time the needles actually got here, I could be done with the sweater. So might as well just use magic loop, use what I have, save some money, and not complain too much. Even though complaining's so easy to do. So, this is my beginning of round marker. Okay, so I think that's it. So here's all the fade marled in up to here. Now I did try this on, and so far when I'm actually wearing it, the color lines do line up. So, like that. So that's kind of fun and exciting. I added this little faux seam 2x2 ribbing to the side and underarms. So yeah, that is my neon fade sweater. Now let's get a new progress keeper in here. There we go. Progress keeper achieved. Okay. So that is that whip. Whip number 3 is my northeasterly blanket, and it is living in this bag by Lila Styles, which my husband bought me last year for Christmas. So super excited about this. I used to have, well, like all of the Trapper Keepers of all of these guys, but my favorite one was definitely the leopard seal. So, okay, northeasterly blanket. Now the goal on this one was to knit every day of the month of July for at least 10 minutes. Now, there were 2 days that I was able to knock out 2 hours on this blanket, so that's kind of like catching up, because 2 hours, 120 minutes, and today's the 12th of July. So technically, I reached my goal on this one, but also I could do better. Okay, so here is where I was last week. Hopefully y'all can see that. And then I got to up here. So I love this color in here. This is like blue and pink. And so it just reminded me of cotton candy. And then up here we have some neon green and blue, which is really fun. Let's see. This whole bag is filled with like 10 gram balls roughly, and I'm just reaching in, grabbing 2, and those are the ones that go into the blanket next. So that way I don't get stress paralyzed, which is a thing, and if you've ever been stress paralyzed, you totally know about it. So if you've ever been stress paralyzed, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, because I know I'm not the only one. But by just reaching into the bag and pulling them out, makes this blanket so much more desirable to work on. Plus it adds like a random effect to it. Okay, let's see. Progress keeper away. So there's where I was. Here's where I am. Now, I don't have that much. Okay, maybe I do. I have like maybe 2 colors left before I finish it. So that's exciting. Project whip number 4 is my triangle blanket living in my Bar Talk Stress. It's a killer bag by Fate's Thread, who are no longer in business. Okay, last week when I showed this blanket, I hadn't even started any of the triangles for the month of July, but I'm happy to say that for a few days I caught up and I was keeping up with the triangles, but then I stopped. So I'll probably have to catch up again. So here is my progress keeper from last week. So this one was already completed. So I did this one. This is a Freckled Whimsy. If you watched, I think last week's podcast, I showed the pair of socks that I made for my husband out of the Freckled Whimsy. And so this is the extra that I had from it. This is just a random mini. This color actually no, this isn't a random mini. This is a mini that I dyed up last year as part of my summer slushy collection. And this little bit actually came from extras from the Yorkshire blanket that I had started on. So we have that one. And then this one is a color repeat. These are from a pair of my son's socks that I made him. Color that I dyed, color that I dyed, and then this is for my daughter's collection, and she made herself a pair of socks in this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so apparently 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 5! Last time I had 5 to catch up on, and now I have 5 again to catch up on. So we'll see. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to end up with 31 new triangles by the end of the month or not. But it's always fun to try and see. This is the next color that will be going in to my blanket, the next triangle. And that was actually the first triangle that I did. So what I'm doing is, this is just another bag. This blanket, each triangle takes about 3 grams of fingering weight yarn to do for me, and I'm doing them on double point needles, ChowGoo, size 2, 2.75 millimeter needles, and I'm going to need a progress keeper for this one. Okay, progress keeper is in, so now we can see. Ooh. It's getting to be pretty good. Can I get it all in the, there we go, kind of. But yeah, so it's getting, I think I want it at least this size times 1.5 across. Oh, but I wanted this to be the length. I've got quite a bit more to do, because if you've watched my previous ones, I've talked about how I like my blankets. They need to wrap around the bottom of my feet and wrap up above my head, because that's how I like to snuggle. And when I have a blanket, I can't sleep unless my ear is covered. Are you like that? Is there? I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird, but that's how I enjoy sleeping. So I have to have a blanket over my head. Still need to be able to breathe, but has to cover me completely. Okay, so now we're gonna get, those are the 4 whips that I talked about last week. The goals that I had set were to keep up on the triangle blanket with 1 triangle per day. Missed out on that goal, but I did technically work 10 minutes a day on my northeasterly blanket, so that's one goal checked off. I did add the sleeves to the body of the sweater, so that goal is checked off. I wasn't planning on knitting anything on my hedgehog fiber socks, so being able to get the heel flap, heel turn, and pick up all the stitches, get the gusset going, that was an added bonus of a goal, I guess. And then I'm going to talk to you about whip number 5, which is a whip that I didn't even talk to you guys about last week. This is an older work in progress. My daughter and I are making this pattern together while we listen to Agatha Christie books, and this week we decided to pick it back up and start working on it while we're listening to Nemesis. So these are my tan line joggers, triangulum pants. I don't know that I would want triangulum pants, but anyways, these are tan line joggers by Little Wolf Knits, and this yellow stitch marker right here denotes where I was last week, and that's how far. It's about, what, 1.5 inches, 2 inches of progress. And it's got this slip stitch design right here. We veered away from the pattern right from the get-go because she has you cast on provisionally and then later you come back to work the waistband, but I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me how just ribbing folding over is gonna hold up your pants. So I decided to go with some extra reinforcement. So what we did is we knitted tube pretty much. Well, we knit flat, 2x2 ribbing, folded it over, added an elastic waistband, and then joined it. And then we started with the pants. So that is where we made it this week, and my daughter's like slowing down for me. She is definitely the faster knitter, and she's a teenager, so she's got a lot of more time on her hands than I do. So she actually had to slow it down and wait for me to catch up. But now I'm all caught up, so oh great, red progress keeper on a red project. It's fine. This yarn is a yarn that I dyed. It's called Cherry Bomb. Fingering weight, 75/25, superwash, and these are a size 4, 3.5 millimeter needle that we're working on. So there's where I was at the beginning of the month. Here's where I am now. Who knows where I'll be next week. Okay, so I didn't have any goals for this. I had completely forgotten about it until she was like, hey, let's listen to Agatha Christie and work on our tan line joggers. All in all, I'm feeling really good about all the progress that I was able to make with my knitted projects. Now, let's talk about goals that I have for the upcoming week. For the upcoming week, we have hit a break for our school. And so we have 1 week off and then we go back to our normal school schedule. So I'm thinking that I might have some extra time to maybe knock a couple of these out, like completely. I mean, it would be great if I could finish my 2 projects that I wanted to finish for the month of July in this next week, so then I could spend some extra time on the tan line joggers or getting ahead on my triangulum blanket or even pulling out my husband's sweater that I've been working on for him forever. Goals. Okay. So the goal with the hedgehog fiber socks, pull them out again, would be to finish all the gusset decreases. If I could at least have all the gusset decreases done this time next week, I think we'd be on track for finishing this by the end of the month. Okay, then for my neon fade sweater, my goal, let's see, what did I write down? The goal for my neon fade sweater isn't necessarily to knit anymore on it, but it's going to be, I'm just gonna pull this out. Can you guys see all those? All these lovelies? Yeah. I want to have all the ends woven in by this time next week. Like I said, I don't need to knit anymore on it, but I would love for all of these pretties to just be gone and be woven in. That way I only have a couple of ends to weave in when the sweater is all said and done. So this one, ends woven in by next week. Okay, goal for my northeasterly. The big goal, the almost out of reach goal for this would be to finish the whole row. I think that's like about 2 feet. About 2 feet of knitting for this. That would be the kind of outlandish goal, let's say that. A more practical goal would be, let's just work on it for 10 minutes a day. And I'm going to count 10 minutes a day if I get a day where I work on it for just like an hour and a half straight. That would count as my 10 minutes a day. Triangulum blanket. Obviously, the goal would be to catch up so that by this time next week, I think next Saturday, is going to be the 17th? No, it's not. It's going to be the 19th. If I reach this goal, that means that I will have 19 new triangles from the Progress Keeper. That's the big goal, okay? The little goal is just make some progress on it. Okay. The goal for the tan line joggers this week is just to finish Nemesis. So that means that I have about 2 hours left to knit on my tan line joggers. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this little knitting catch up. If you did, make sure you like this video, hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any of my upcoming content, and we will see you in 1 week. Bye!